What you don't define, you cannot find. This is another life-changing episode of Leaders Arise. I'm Demola Awoyele. For some couple of episodes now, I've started discussing on the secrets of an amazing year. And today, we want to go a little further by unraveling those secrets that make for an amazing year. I want to believe year 2020 has been amazing for you, depending on the definition of amazing that you currently hold in your hearts. But much more, I want to pray and believe with you that year 2021 will be super amazing. I told you in the last episode that amazing simply means something that is worthwhile, something that is glorious, something that is worth celebrating. And that's my prayer for you, that the coming year will really be amazing. Excuse me. And I did emphasize last episode that there is no one secret to success. There are a few secrets that make for a life of success. And today, we will begin by looking at those secrets one by one. Because nothing just happens. Things are made to happen. And it is secrets that make things to happen. Because the secrets of great men are in their stories. Embedded in their stories are the things they did or that they did not do that actually made them to achieve what they achieved. And so today, I want to speak to what I've titled, you need to define what your year you should look like. You need to define what your year will look like. Because what you don't define, you cannot find. I beg you, don't enter year 2021 just expecting that something will happen out of the blues. And that's the way a lot of people think today. They are vague in their expectation. Particularly some of us who are of the Christian faith circle, we have this belief that God will do something. All right, we have this belief that miracles will happen. We have this belief that God will do it. Yes, I have same belief also, but listen to me, what God will do is a function of what you define. In Jeremiah chapter 1 verse 11 and 12, God met the prophet Jeremiah. He said, "Son of man, what do you see?" And Jeremiah said, "I see a rod of an almond tree." And God replied him saying, "You have seen well, because I will hasten your word to perform." What does that mean? God was limited to what Jeremiah could see. God was limited to the correctness of the vision of Jeremiah. And that's why I need you to know today that year 2021 is pregnant with what you can see. What do you want to see in year 2021? There is a law of attraction, all right, or you may want to call it the law of recognition in our world today. You know, the moment you define something, you begin to find that thing. I've used that example before, maybe in one or two episodes ago. That if a friend of mine drives a Pajero Jeep to this office now, maybe a black, beautiful, shiny Pajero Jeep, all right, and I see that Pajero Jeep, I identify it, I appreciate it, I celebrate it, and all of that. Do you know that if I should step out of my office right now to go home or to go to a few places, there is every likelihood that I will see a few other Pajeros, maybe exactly like that of my friend on the road. Do you know why? I have defined what I wanted to see. Now I began to see it. Now the Pajero Jeeps have always been on the road. SUVs have always been on the road, but I couldn't notice them. Do you know why? I have not defined what I want to say. And that's the way life is. A lot of things are out there. Your business success is out there. Academic success is out there. Your property is out there. The lady you are going to marry is out there. The man you are going to marry is out there. Excuse me. Whatever you need for life and godliness is out there. But the truth of the matter is, you will be blind to them until you define them. Just the way Pajero Jeep or SUV must have been out on the road, I must have come across quite a number of them, but I couldn't notice them. Do you know why? I have not defined them. Some of you can relate with that. You begin to see the same brand of car almost everywhere you turn to. Does it mean that those cars just started existing? No, they've always been there. They've always been there, but I couldn't see them because I've not defined what I wanted to see. And that's the same way life works. A lot of things are out there for you, but you have got to define them if you want to find them. And that's why as you go into year 2021, don't be vague. Don't be general. Don't be vague. Be specific. Define what you want for the year. What is your definition of amazing? You need to write it down. Because I've come to understand that what I call amazing may not be what you call amazing. It depends on what you are looking for. So you've got to write it down. Define them. An amazing year for me means I'm going to get married in year 2021. So you note it. What kind of lady do you want to get married to? You note it. A God-fearing lady, provided you are a God-fearing man anyway. An upwardly mobile lady, provided you are not lazy as a guy anyway. Tongue-talking lady, provided you are demon-casting also. That's just on the lighter mood. So you define it. You will be amazed at how you'll be coming across a few ladies that have that same characteristics or qualities. Then you need to take it to God and pray and be sure who among them really is the person. But the truth of the matter is, if you don't define the kind of lady you want to marry, or the kind of marriage you want to have, or the kind of job you want to have, you will be missing out on them. Opportunities will be passing right before your nose, and you won't be able to trap them. When people tell me, I say, Pastor, I just want any kind of job, I say, no, that's not how to live. Any kind of job is no job. Define the kind of job you want to have. I know people have said times that number that, so what if I define it and I don't have it? No. That you define it does not mean you automatically have it. But that you define it has increased your chance of having it. Because your power of recognition switches on almost immediately. You begin to recognize. You are quick to spot the opportunities. You are quick to leverage relationships that will help you to achieve what you have defined. So let me give you that assignment in the next couple of days. Define what you want in year 2021. I know that before now, some people still do it. When I was still growing up as a teenager, even up until now anyway, there's this crusade about having goals for the new year. I grew up with that kind of teaching, and it really helped me a lot. I know a point will come that you put some balance to that kind of theology or operations, but we can't rule out the place of goals. Do you understand? Goals are not unspiritual. God is a God of goals. God also has targets. Okay? So the same thing for you also. But I've come to discover that lately people don't talk about it again. I remember a few years ago, when the year is going to an end like this, you'll be hearing goal seminar, vision seminar, this one, that one, and all that. Pastors will start teaching their members how to prepare for the new year. By the way, that's what I'm doing in our local church. All right, but today now, an average person just resort to prayers. And like I told you previously, that prayer is not enough. The goal of prayer is to open your mind, to open your understanding to what it is that God wants to do in your tomorrow. And you can start planning and strategizing under God for the fulfillment of those plans and those visions. All right, so you've got to write down those things. Be specific, don't be vague. Any job is no job. Some people will say, I just want to marry year 2021 anyhow. Brother, sister, you can't just marry anyhow. Perhaps those who are having issues with their marriage today, that was their mindset. I just want to marry anyhow. I'm 28, I'm 32. You can't just afford to marry anyhow. You say, where are the guys? There are a lot of guys out there, particularly there is one that God has ordained for you, has planned for you. You may not have seen him in year 2020, but it does exist. But when you define prayerfully, define meditatively, define under God what you really want in terms of your marriage, in terms of your career, in terms of what have you, you will discover that the right opportunities, begin to come your way, and you begin to recognize and seize such opportunities. Now, let me take this further by encouraging that it is not enough to just define it. You also need to write it down. You also need to do what? To write it down. There is power in writing. There is power in writing. And by the way, I still want to encourage this culture of writing. Some people call it my expectation for year 2021. Some people call it my goals. Some people call it my fasting and prayer in our local church. People come to drop their expectation. I still believe strongly in that. This was how I grew from. Writing down stuff. I still believe in them. I know a lot of people have lost faith in writing down things. Thank God for gadgets. Anyway, some are typing it down, whichever the case may be. But I would advise you write. And of course, you can type it on your gadgets and what have you. But as much as possible, express what you really want. Because writing brings clarity. What you don't write, you don't truly own. Writing brings what? Clarity. What you don't write, you don't truly own. Writing brings ownership. Until you write it, you don't own it yet. Until you write it, you don't have it yet. Until you write it, it's not yet clear. I know sometimes as you plan for the new year, what the new year will look like may not be clear to you at the moment. You just have a glimpse of it. You just have a thought about it. One way to make it clear is by writing it down. The moment you write, you have brought in forces of clarity to bear upon that vision or that goal. Because one way to define what an amazing year is for you to write it. In fact, if you can paint it, if you can draw it, if you are artistic, and if not, no problem. No problem. What I'm trying to say is that let it be in your front. Let it be something you wake up to see every day. Let it be something you see, because there is power in seeing. There is power in seeing. In fact, he said, write what you see. Do you know why? You see it, you write it so that you can see it again. You see it, you write it so that you can see it again. Because the scripture was spoken to be written and was written to be spoken. So you see it, then you write it. And that's why Habakkuk chapter 2 from verse 1 to 4, it says, write the vision. Meaning, write what you see and make it plain upon tables that it may run that reads it. So I want to challenge you. We have just about 2 weeks or thereabouts, roughly 2 weeks, less than 3 weeks to the end of the year. What is an amazing year for you? What does it look like in your career? What does it look like in your business? What does it look like in your ministry? What does it look like in your finance? What does it look like in your marriage? Define it. And that's, you have permission to define it. Don't let people define your year for you. Don't let the economy of your nation define the year for you. Don't allow the bad governance in your country to define the year for you. Some people have started thinking, I don't know how 2021 will look like because year 2020 is so bad or was so bad for them. Listen, don't allow the circumstances around you to define what the year will look like. Your ability to define what your year will look like has given you the power to determine how the year will look like. Because what you define, you determine. As I define my new year, I will determine the outcome by that shared responsibility I have taken. But for me to not define the new year is to give life this power to determine how that year will look like. So I want to encourage you today. Don't leave year 2021 to chances. Don't just say God will do it. Remember that God is committed to doing what you see. Jeremiah 1:11-12. I will hasten my words to perform. Why? Because you have seen well. God is committed to what you see. God is committed to what you define. So you are going to sit down between now and the next couple of days or 2 weeks or thereabout before we enter year 2021. Define what you want the year to look like. And in defining what you want the year to look like, the scripture says in Isaiah 43:18-20, he said, remember not the former things, neither consider the things of old. He said, behold, I will do a new thing. Somebody said the word behold is perhaps the most important in that statement, because it is one thing for God to plan to do a new thing. It's another thing for you to behold. To behold means to look, to consider and see. To look and see, to look and see. So God is saying to tell you today, in defining a new year, don't be trapped by your past. Don't be incapacitated by the failures of year 2020. Don't look at your past to construct your future. Look at the future maker to define what that future will look like. Because God does not consult your past in order to construct your future. God can give you a beautiful future in the place of an ugly past. God can give you an amazing year 2021 in place of an awful year 2020. So I want to encourage you as I round up today's episode of Leaders Arise. Sit down with yourself and God. Find yourself a quiet and a very conducive environment. Define what you want year 21 to 2021 to look like. Don't let that year just dump anything on your laps. You have the power. You have the choice to determine how that year will look like. And I pray for you today that the Lord will grant you a vision of greatness in year 2021, because it is what God shows us that we can define. Like God told Moses, he said, see that you build according to pattern that has been shown you. So Moses had a pattern that God showed him, and he began to build according to the pattern. There is a pattern God is showing you for year 2021. There is something God is about to do in that year. I pray that your eyes will see it. You begin to conceptualize it, define it appropriately, so that you, together with God, will determine how that year will look like. May your 2021 be amazing. In fact, may this year 2020 end on a note of amazing for you. Thank you for joining me today on Leaders Arise. I do hope today's broadcast has been a blessing to you. I look forward to hearing from you from all the handles that are showing on your screen. Till I meet with you again on the next episode, go right there, define your year, and make it truly amazing. God bless you, and bye for now.